Buckle up, everyone, and welcome to Carpool Rugby League, a show where two rugby league tragics talk everything rugby league on your way to and from work. I'm Shano.
I am the chameleon.
Welcome aboard and on with the show. Look, guys, a quick one tonight. We've both Griffo and I. We've had some technical issues, but rather than leave you hanging, we thought we'd definitely preview this week's games. Some interesting results from last week. I think put the nail in a couple of coffins, maybe, but definitely some interesting things moving forward into this week's games. And we'll get straight into it. Just I know we'd like to give you something here on Carpool Rugby League. Griffo, I don't know if you've seen it, but if you get a chance, there's a great feature article on NRL.com on Artisan and Quayle and their tenure
Ah,
through the in what yeah in what could be I think they really worked on the glory days of the 90s and then navigated Super League as well. And when you look at, looking at expansion and what expansion can bring, and I really think if they go to Perth, I think I think that's the crown, the jewel in the crown that's sort of missing for the NRL. But have a read of it.
I
It's
did notice I can see it there. I just
yeah,
haven't read it.
yep,
So
yep,
let's give it a go. How Quail and Arthur shape the modern
yep,
game.
yep. Oh, great. It was actually a really good read. But without any further ado, let's get into tomorrow's NRL games, the men's games. Um, and it starts with a cracker, really, if you're a Melbourne Storm fan. If you're a Bunnies fan, geez. At 7:50 tomorrow night at Accor Stadium in Sydney, the Rabbitohs 15th place off the boil are taking on the Melbourne Storm. Um, the the South Sydney Rabbitohs do have Cody Walker back. He's named. His longevity into that could be interesting. Dean Hawkins is also there, I think, as a bit of a backup. Should anything go wrong. But look, I think that if he's fit, South Sydney will go out there 1-17. Shakai Mitchell making his way into the 17. Katoa is out for the Storm, but you know they're just a machine that just keeps rolling on. I suppose one person who has come in, Kamakamika, is in at prop for them. But with Harry Grant, their captain, I look, I would love to say that there's an upset on the cards here, but I think not. I think South Sydney's season is well and truly over, proven last week by their lack of creativity and lack of movement around the ball. However, in saying that, the Melbourne Storm haven't been without their hiccups of late. I will say hiccups because that tends to be what they have. I know their 18-16 loss last week to the Dragons is not something you'd want with the Panthers nipping at your heels, but in saying that, they rarely have two performances that back to back are not great, and I don't think they're going to have that this week. I think that the Melbourne Storm are going to win this, and with South Sydney's defensive issues, well, let's face it, I think at times the Sharks did not throw a lot at South. The Storm are going to win, and it could be a cricket score by the end of this one, Griff.
Yeah, I tend to agree with pretty much everything you said. Um, Storm, the worst thing you know, the worst thing for South is that Storm actually lost last week. Um,
Yes.
they didn't really
Yes.
need
Yes.
any extra motivation. They lost to the Dragons, which was pretty much a surprise, I guess, to everyone. Maybe except for the Dragons themselves. Probably, I dare say, even they were a bit surprised. But I can't see them losing back to back. This South Sydney team is a shadow of of its former self due to a range of injuries, not one or two, but if you look at the starting 13, I dare say there's probably half of that, if half, that would be regular.
Yeah.
If they had all their players on deck, but maybe half. And that's not good enough to beat most teams, and certainly not good enough to beat a quality side such as the Melbourne Storm, with guys like Hughes, Munster, Pappenhausen, Harry Grant that you mentioned. And their forwards have been very good this year. Melbourne.
Yeah. There's very little more you can say about that. There's they're just a juggernaut when they want to be. On Friday, a really interesting game for me at 6 o'clock. I actually I'm really looking forward to this. I know you're looking forward to the game after as well. But this is a game I really want to see what happens here. At Seabus Super Stadium at 6 o'clock, you've got the Gold Coast Titans taking on the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks. 2 outs for the Sharks. You've got Brandon Haminuele, he's out. Braden Trindle's out as well. That creates some sort of creates a little bit of a shuffle. For the Titans, and I'm just going to go through here. AJ Brimson, he's in at number 18. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. You've got Beau Fermor, he's out. And I'm just seeing where they've put, I think Joe Stimson's also on an extended bench. So everyone's pretty much on an extended bench there. Palacia, let's just have a quick squeeze. Palacia, apologies, Palacia is actually number 17. The Gold Coast Titans last week, wow. I think if you'd said to the Gold Coast, you win 20 points to 18, they would have taken it. To win 46-18, especially with the position that the Broncos were in, cruising by the 14th minute with Reece Walsh double. It really looked like he was going to score 5. The way they fought back to win the game comprehensively. They're versing a Sharks side, which I think at times, especially in that first half, really didn't look like a top 4 team against a side who was, South Sydney were fumbling around at times. Pulled their socks up in the second half, to be fair, and probably the score last week showed the proper distance between the two sides at 20 points to 6. Really early in that second half, Stone Street and Trindle, once they went over, it was lights out for South. For me, I think these two sides, it's going to be what their forward pack provide for their backs and their backs creativity. David Fafita, he's the guy again, got a lead from the front. Cameron McInnes has to tie up the middle there. He's really got to shadow McInnes around. It's also how the reserves for either side actually come on and create value. I think this year the Titans elevate, the forwards almost are like no one come off and no one's come on. They've just slotted in perfectly. If my criticism of the Sharks is that I think their bench players at times have to come on because the forward pack for the starting lineup isn't doing their job, or the starting lineup does their job, and then when the reserves come on, it's a very clunky change where you see players really struggle and defensive lapses occur. I've got the Titans at home. This is a flip the coin for me. I think that the Sharks have to win this. If they're not going to get their finals wobblies that they tend to get, they have to win this. But I genuinely think that the Titans will be too strong here. I think their forward pack's going to create far more meters, and I think that they're actually going to create some really good opportunities for their back line. it's strange. 2 weeks ago, I couldn't have believed I was saying this, but I think that's going to be the way, Griff.
Yeah, I agree. I'm tipping the Titans here. One of the form teams of the comp, actually. And they've had their injury problems. It hasn't been that it's all been smooth sailing. They've had a number of injuries.
Could you imagine if Big Tino was popping up in this
Yeah,
team?
start of the year.
It's like, can you imagine if he'd been back for the last 3 or 4 weeks, where this side would be running into the finals?
Yeah. Credit to Hasler and the players. A greatly talented attacking football team. Their defence has improved, and that's why they've gone on a bit of a run of victories over the last few months, with the odd loss here or there. But I think they're going to be too good. Cronulla last week I only watched the mini version, but they looked like they were struggling against, a team in South Sydney without Cody Walker as well. We didn't know that when we talked about the game last week, but then he was ruled out. So they really had very few bullets to fire, South Sydney. And yet the Sharks, they sort of struggled. They've got their own issues now with injury, with a halves combination of Atkinson and Brayley that no one thought at the start of the year that would be a 6 and 7 for this team, but it's come to that. They've still got some good players. I'm not discounting them completely. And the Gold Coast, sometimes, you think, a lot of times over the last couple of years when I've thought, oh, gee, Gold Coast can win this game, and they've not really turned up. But,
it's like they've had a week off.
Yeah. The Sharks, they got a very, very important 2 points. Even though they didn't play well, those 2 points are vital because they're struggling, and I believe the Titans are going to get over the top of them this week. So Sharks are in the top 4 at the moment, but it's looking a bit shaky. They need to be in the top 4 to have any chance in this competition. They were the early season leaders. They have stumbled over the last couple of months. Titans channel.
Yeah. And the game that you're going to be very keen to look at 8 o'clock on Friday night, we have the Parramatta Eels, who are in 16th, versus the Penrith Panthers on second, 2 points from top spot. I suppose for Penrith, mate, Dane Laurie in at fullback. He's there. I think Luke Summerton, he's on an extended bench. I saw, but really, with him there, it's and 1 to 17, it's looking like a very solid team. Penrith Panthers, the Parramatta Eels, well, they've struggled of late. They're, even when they've looked good, and we've seen glimpses of what they can do. Last week was a bit of an example of that. It really, they played a Warriors side who, gee whiz. And speaking of the Warriors, big shout out, I suppose. Later on, we talk about them to Sean Johnson, but that you can't set your watch by the Parramatta Eels. They are on struggle street. I just think the forward pack are absolutely going to own Penrith forward pack. The back line's just going to run riot. Nathan Cleary he's got the ball on the string. What injury? I think that I just think that they're just going to be far too strong. This is one of these games where Penrith hold the ball, do everything they need to do. If they do everything they need to do and do it well, they're going to go well. I was going to ask you a question, Griffo. I saw this young kid a couple of times. And I've noticed he's now on number 14, the interchange bench. Trent Talau. Is that how you say his name? Talau?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not an expert, but
Yeah.
Talau.
Yeah. Yeah. He's.
It's Trent.
I know, like, I just look at Penrith, and from what I've seen of this kid, um, you know, to have him at number 14, it's just another string to an already impressive Penrith Panthers bow. I've got them winning, and I've got them winning very well. And when you've got people like that who can come on and absolutely run riot, and practice against a side who's well out of the 8, I think, yeah, they are very dangerous, Penrith Panthers, and they're going to beat the Eels well. Griff, I reckon you're probably going to think the same thing.
Well, I'm tipping him. I was pretty happy with the game last week. It was a narrow win. Newcastle, I thought, played really well.
I thought Newcastle were great. I thought Newcastle
they played better than
I
expected. An easy win last week, and it certainly was not an easy win. And Penrith didn't play badly. So, yeah, I think they'll beat Para. I don't generally tend to predict big victories.
Yeah, they're all worth 2 points.
Yeah, look, that's all that matters.
That's it. Yeah.
They've got this game and then the blockbuster Thursday next week against the Storm. So it's imperative
at home.
They beat. Yeah, that's going to be big. This one's being played at the future home of Penrith, Combank Stadium at Parramatta. Para's got a good record over Penrith in the last few years in the normal Telstra premiership games. Penrith did beat them earlier this year, but I think Para beat them both times last year. And they've had a good record. But the big thing still, Para without Mitch Moses, and they did well to win last week. I thought they'd struggle to win another game this year, but good on them. They deserve the victory. But I don't think they win this week. I think Penrith will get the job done. I don't expect a big victory in differential-wise, but as long as you get the points, that's what matters. So Nathan Cleary, since he's come back, he's been amazing. Really, I'd be surprised if he hasn't been the man of the match in all 3 games. That he's played.
Yep.
So Penrith look dangerous.
I agree. And on Saturday to kick us off, we have the 10th place Raiders up against the 7th place Manly Seagulls. Manly coming off a bye, the Raiders coming off that loss to the Dogs. I suppose Zach Hosking out for the Raiders, and you got Peter Volandi's mate. He's out for the Seagulls. You've got some ins here that really don't play a big role in the grand scheme of things regarding their 1 to 17. Olakau'atu, of course, he comes in for the Seagulls. Let's see if Hopper Whitey's on the bench. No, he's on the extended bench. So you've got, for what is the Seagulls, they're rolling basically load of players who seem to be doing really well. The Raiders last week, they struggled once they got in the grind. For me, if I was talking to a Bulldogs fan, why the Bulldogs game would be so great is because once they got into the grind, they won. And the Raiders tried to get in the grind, and once they got in the grind, it was actually to their detriment. They just fell to bits. Seagulls, on the other hand, well, they're playing some decent football at the moment. It's sort of led by this new... I think it's led by this new system they've got of sharing the workload, not necessarily giving the ball to Trebojevic. It's about sharing the workload. Ruben Garrick in at centre are doing some really impressive stuff. It's also had Jake Trebojevic. He's been leading from the front there. His defence at lock has really supported Lachlan Croker in that middle defence. It's taking a lot of pressure off him. Guy on the bench, actually two guys on the bench, Ben Trebojevic, Ethan Bullymore. They're two players who have really played some very good football and can actually do some great work off the bench. For me, Raiders, if the Raiders want to win, they've just got to cool their jets. They've just got to cool their jets and play some smart football. Elliot Whitehead and Hudson Young, two very good forwards. Tarpany, Papali'i, sorry. That you've also got Morgan Smithies, who actually I thought has played some really good football of late. They're smart. Jamal Fogarty has one of the best kicking games in the competition. Sebastian Chris, they've got these really big players out wide that they can rely on, and they just zig when they should zag. They belted South, and you thought, well, here we go. We've got a Canberra Raiders team that seems to be finding form, and then all of a sudden they play against the Dogs. You just want them to get in the grind, see some good football. When they get in the grind, they go to water. That's exactly what the Seagulls are going to ask for them. The Seagulls team are far too experienced. It's in Canberra, which always makes you think to pick Canberra. I'm actually picking an away win here for the Seagulls. I just think the Seagulls know that if they win this, they are going a long way to playing finals football this year. Yeah, I've got the Seagulls, but I don't, just. Griff?
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you. I've tipped Manly. I've not been sold on the Raiders at any stage this year. I know they've had some good wins, and they've shown more in attack this year. That they've got some weapons out wide. Guys like Tomoko, Xavier Savage, KO Sports at the back there.
Yeah.
Yes. Chris is pretty handy as well. So they've got some, and I haven't mentioned the enigma that is Jordan Rapana. He's the ultimate rocks or diamonds guy, but sometimes there are diamonds from Rapana. So they can score tries, which I know over the last few years, even though they've had some success, they have struggled a bit in attack. But there's always a question mark about this team. Pretty good on paper. They are at home. This is the game that they will expect to win and probably have to win if they're going to maintain aspirations for semi-final football. I think if they lose this week, the red pen probably comes through these guys. Were they on 24 or 22?
They are on. So the Canberra Raiders are on 24 points. Interestingly enough, I'm with you. I would have thought their attacking was up there. They're on 384 points for. To put that in perspective, the Parramatta Eels are on 385. So the Parramatta Eels are outscoring them, and they're the third worst attacking team, as I can see quickly as I scan. That surprises me because you've got them. They're 384.
Football.
Yeah, they're 384. You've got the Knights on 332, and you've got the West Tigers on 367. You couple that with South 406, Broncos 447, 422 for the Warriors. I'm with you. I would have thought, as I see it, the Dolphins 481. I would have thought, as I saw it, they're a better attacking side than that. But really, they just must struggle at certain times to score points. And I think that's when they get in the grind. I think when they're asked to be in the grind, they struggle significantly.
Yeah, I mean, even though they're at home, I think Manly, with the weapons they've got, and Tommy Turbo, who seems to be, back to full fitness, Saab, Talau, Garrick Sandy, Lehigh Hopewati, who it doesn't look as though he'll come up against his brother, who's, as you mentioned, the 18th man. That would have been interesting. The brothers against each other. Brooks and Cherry Evans. It's a pretty impressive backline. The only guy probably that would be there if fit is Tolatau Kohler. But still pretty impressive. I'm not convinced about their forwards with a few injuries there. Olakawatu obviously is a massive bin, and I do think they'll probably be able to match the Raiders forwards. You mentioned some talent on the bench, the likes of Ben Trebojevic, who also can cover if there's an injury in the back line. Carpool Rugby League favourite Jordan Chancom Tong is there, and Bullymore, I like him. I've liked him since he was a Bronco player, actually. And then you've got Big Sipley, who sometimes is Sipley the best and sometimes he isn't. But I'm going Manly.
Yep. Well, at 5:30 on Saturday at Queensland Country Bank Stadium in Townsville, it sees the sixth placed Cowboys versus the 14th placed Broncos. Ins, or I suppose outs for both teams, because you've got Jake Granville. He is out for the Cowboys. Yep. For the Broncos, Ezra Mam and Payne Haas. They are two big names who are out. Josh Rogers, he will play in the 5/8 position. Jensen and Xavier Willison, they'll be the props for the Broncos. Jake Clifford, he is in. I think he's on an extended bench, so that's negated that. But Ruben Cotter, he will definitely be a starter at 13. Look, we can talk about how each team's going. We can talk about the outs for certain teams. We can talk about what each team brings. I just think it's as simple as this. You have a team who is in the 8 playing good football, and you have a team who is not, who is just down on confidence. I think the Broncos just are absolutely on struggle street. And to dig your way out of this against the top 8 side with no Mam and no Payne Haas, that's just made the job even harder. I think that the Cowboys are actually looking towards the finals. They're starting to cement their spot in there. Look, in saying that, I'm not saying that the Cowboys are not without their faults. They won last week against the Tigers, and there were actually periods of time in that game where the Tigers were their own worst enemy and could have actually, with a bit of control and finesse, actually come over the Cowboys. I'm not saying that they were brilliant last week, but just think there's a team of, in regards to will, there's a team that has it and a team that doesn't. And at home, I think the Cowboys are going to win this, Griff.
Oh, it's hard to see them not winning. But you never know. Cowboys, a little bit enigmatic, but they're actually, they're well positioned on the ladder.
Yeah.
They'll still have top 4 aspirations. So I'm just sort of getting the ladder up again. Cowboys are on 28, equal with the Bulldogs. Now, if the Sharks were to lose, as we predicted, and that doesn't mean they're going to lose, but if they were to lose, the Sharks differential is 131. So it's not bad.
No.
Bulldogs are at 92 on 28. We'll get to them soon. Cowboys, they are on 28 points, but a poor differential, although they have gotten into the positive recently. They're just 29, so they're 100, over 100 behind the Sharks. So for them to get into the top 4, it doesn't look like they're going to do it on for and against.
No.
They've got to do it on victories.
And they've got the Raiders. They've got just to give you their run home.
Yeah.
Raiders, Storm. So they've got, of course, Broncos this week. Raiders, Storm. So Raiders home, Storm home, Doggies away. That dog's Cowboys game could be.
Yeah, they're in a big fight. The Cowboys.
Yeah. And so winning. They have to win.
They have to win this game.
Yeah.
Against what is a lower ranked opponent, who are, as you said, they're down on confidence. Their performance last week in the second half was abysmal. After as you said, they did lead early. They looked on fire, the Broncos, with 2 early tries from Reece Walsh. I don't understand how this squad has been so poor this year, but I don't have to understand it. This side that they're trotting out now, on paper, is not anywhere near the best Broncos team. They really needed to have their best side out there. But Josh Rogers and Adam Reynolds, there's a lot of great creativity out of 6 and 7.
No.
Mam's out for I think he's out for the year. But Ezra's a very good attacking player, but he's a dreadful defender. So perhaps the Broncos' defense will be a bit stronger this week. I just can't see them winning, though. It's Cowboys for me. And it's a game the Cowboys are desperate to win. And for the Broncos to win, Walsh has to be the man of the match. We saw what he can do, and in fact, even while they've been losing games, he's had his moments of brilliance, generally picking up at least one try through his own brilliance. He's probably going to need a bit more than that. I can't see it happening. Cowboys.
Yep, I agree. On Saturday, 7:30, hold on to your hats. If you are anywhere near Cogra, this is going to be an absolute cracker. I don't know if tickets are available. I reckon it to be sold out.
Sold out.
It would be an absolute. It would have been sold out in a heartbeat. You've got the 8th place Dragons taking on the 5th place Dogs in the heart of what is both, heart of St. George, but geez, Doggies fans just round the corner.
The two. It's geographically they're very close.
That's right. That's it.
They're next door neighbours.
They are, and it's just absolutely going to be hell for leather. Did you watch the scenes outside Belmore the other day when they won? It was absolutely out. It was cool to watch.
I did see a little bit. Yeah,
mate, they are.
Yeah, I mean, they've had a number of poor years, Bulldogs supporters, and they're really getting on the. I won't say they're getting on the bandwagon.
No,
because they are supporters, but they're obviously out there much more when they're winning.
Yeah.
And they come out in numbers, and they love their team. I remember it was the year after the Panthers won the grand final early in this century. I think that was 2003. Then the next year,
2003.
Yeah, in 2004, the Panthers played a game against the Bulldogs in the prelim, the last game before the grand final.
Yep.
At the old Sydney Football Stadium, old Allianz, and the Bulldogs won that night, and it was crazy. The whole, for a long way, driving out of the precinct there, and a long way up Parramatta Road on the way home, there were just Bulldog supporters honking their horns, and they know how to have a good time.
Yeah.
And they celebrate They're loud and they're proud, and they've got a lot to be loud and proud about at the moment, because this is a team on the up who continue to win rugby league games. Probably expected to win this game. I don't know why, but when I put my tips in last evening, I tipped the Dragons. I'm not quite sure. I'm still thinking about whether I change. Traditionally, I found that when I do change tips, I usually get it wrong. And I know Shano and those who are in the Carpool Rugby League tipping comp, that both of us last week, we sort of played our joker around, and it was a bad week for it.
Poorly.
We had a number of upsets.
I thought I was being clever, and it was just.
You thought the Dragons would go down to Amy Park and win down there. They hadn't done it for like 25 years down in Melbourne.
I would have put money on it.
Congratulations! It was a fabulous performance.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is with this Dragons team, they can be woeful one week. Like last week, they got pumped the previous week by Penrith. Penrith scored well over 40 points. And then they come out, go down to they're playing the second ranked team, and then they went down to Melbourne, the top ranked team, after being pumped by number 2, and then they hung on. Credit to them. I've mentioned a few times that they have a power game that can be successful. But I remember last week I said, I said that power game is successful against not necessarily the best teams in the league, but if they're up against the best teams, they can beat them when they've got players missing. Like they beat Penrith in an Origin affected game, but they were very good what they did. But generally, the better teams can find ways to beat a power game that doesn't necessarily have a lot of skill.
Yep.
I thought Ben Hunt last week was outstanding for this team. I'm going to back him. I'll leave. I won't change my tip. I still probably think Bulldogs should be favourites because they're higher on the ladder and they have been more consistent. Crichton last week was absolutely amazing, coming back from an injury. Adokar was very good also. If you went through the list, say who's the better player from 1 through to 17, I think you'd probably find that the Bulldogs would have more going for them on paper. But no, I'm going to do it. I'll stick with the Dragons. But it's one of those 50-50s, and in this case, I'm sort of sticking with the home team. There was some, out in the media, a few people were floating the idea of, the Cogra Jubilee, whatever they call it these days.
Nestra.
Nestra.
It's called Nestra.
Whatever it is.
Nestrata Jubilee.
Okay, so that place.
I don't know what that means.
Doesn't hold a lot of people.
No.
18,000, I think, maybe max. And there was talk that, they could have played it at Allianz and filled up the joint. And I'd say they probably would have.
Very true.
But they would have lost that home ground advantage.
100%.
I'm excited about this game. I have things on other than probably at 7:35 on Saturday night. I've got a few other things happening, but I'll definitely look at least the mini at some stage, even if
I'm very lucky. The engagement I have to go to is at a pub. So I'm very lucky. Very lucky. Look, Griffo.
Who do you think, Shane?
I'm thinking the Dogs, but can I just give Dragons fans What the Dragons have done in the last few weeks, and where the Dragons have gotten value, is number one, they're tackling out of their skin. That's led by Tom Eisenhuth. He locked up the middle last week. He was the highest tackler for the Dragons. A carpool rugby league favourite. We love him.
He's the ultimate carpool rugby league favourite.
He's just But what the other thing, the kick meters for the Dragons, I think were double that of the Storm. So Ben Hunt and Kyle Flanagan, they're really doing this fantastic job of being able, and they'll kick on the fourth. They don't care. If it makes the opposition forwards tired and gives people like Tyrell Sloan room to move, they'll do it. They don't care. Zach Lomax, best aerial person.
I think he can.
He
got that mantle at the moment.
Yeah, yep. He's got absolute skill in that area. I'm going to go the Dogs because of a couple of things. Number one, I think their forward pack actually has been on fire. A lot's been made of what their backs have done and how showy their backs are. It's been the attention that the forwards have created. It's been 3 people come to Josh Curran and an offload. Vilami Kikau getting on the outside of the player and moving. Jacob Preston, Kurt Mann. They've been able to get so much value out of that next phase of play. Their play the ball has been outstanding. Matt Burton and his kicking, the guy who I think will be the difference, and I'll call him man of the match. If the Dogs do win, this guy will be man of the match, and that's Stephen Crichton. He has taken his game to the next level. He is not only a very, very accomplished attacking player, he's a very accomplished defender. And I think that's where the Dragons want space. The Dragons want space out there. Bronson Sherry has made it his goal to make sure he gets on the outside of his man. And the way he's doing that at the moment is absolutely phenomenal for me. That's not taking anything away from people like Sully. It's Flanagan, Hunt in the backs. Their forward pack again, the Dragons. I'm only picking the Dogs because when I watched the Dogs, I watched the Dragons last week, and I'm like, wow, Dragons might win this. I watched the Dogs, and I went, the Dogs just have that something, that next level. Can I say this though? I don't think the Dogs have it with the bench. I actually think the Dragons have it slightly with the bench, but I got the.
It's a contrast, Shane.
Yeah, I've got the. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
The Dragons are all forwards. Couchman's a back rower. Yeah. Essentially, Tyler Mariner is a back rower as well. He's a big human. Harmis Sele and Blake Laurie are basically props. Sele can probably play lock, but there's not a lot of wiggle room if they get an injury in the back line. I can't really see anyone in that forward pack who's a logical back. If either of the halves were to go down, I know Tom Eisenhuth will probably play a 6 role. If any of the outside backs go down, I suppose Sewell might try and sort that out. But they're
very good last week.
It's an interesting. An interesting. If they've been, I guess, fortunate that there haven't been too many games where that's happened. Flanagan likes his 4 boppers on the bench. I did hear an interview with him about that, and he has that preference. And it's the power game of the Dragons up against the Bulldogs, who like to run teams ragged, I guess, in a similar way to what Penrith have done over the years, using their fitness to overcome and sort of get the opposition in the last part of the game. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. It'll be great if it's close. Bulldogs this year have had a very good record in close games. They've won a number of Golden Point games, courtesy of Matt Burton's. I think it's a left boot. Yeah, it's a great build-up. Traditional rivals. Both of these teams have been sort of in the doldrums for a number of years. So both sets of supporters would be looking forward to the back end of the season with great excitement. I do expect the Bulldogs on 28 points are going to get into the finals. It'd be a catastrophe if they didn't. The Dragons are on the knife's edge. They're currently in the eight, as you mentioned. Their fate is in their own hands. They need to win this more than the Bulldogs.
That's it. The Berries versus the Dragons. And at 2 o'clock on Sunday, we have the ninth place Dolphins up against the 13th place Warriors at Suncorp Stadium in Brisbane. Some ins for the Dolphins. Cody Nikorima, he comes in. He's in at 5'8". You also have for the Warriors. Actually, he might be on the bench. No, where is he? He's listed. Where's he listed? Where's Martin listed?
Oh, he's 18th.
18th, sorry, I couldn't see him. There he is there, sorry, my apologies. Yes, so you have the Warriors up against the Dolphins. Look, this is an interesting game. Big shout out to Sean Johnson announcing retirement from the game. To be fair, probably hasn't had his best season by his own admission. So, look, he's been a brilliant player over the years. He's someone who, for the Warriors and then for the Sharks, but definitely for New Zealand as well, has been. He revolutionised at times what it meant to be that running halfback, very much in the style of Stacey Jones, and really has cemented what that kind of running Kiwi fullback's role is. And you know, when you've, it's one thing to say that you copy the style, but when you take a style, make it your own, and have young kids wanting to emulate that, I think that's a good thing. So congratulations to him on his career. It's been very good. The Warriors, however, at times have not been. Look, it's easy. I just want to know what Warriors team's going to turn up, and I'll do my picks. If the Warriors team that can come out all guns blazing, hold the ball, throw it round, tackle like there's no tomorrow, have completion rate well over 80% and a missed tackle rate of under 30 tackles, they're probably going to win. But we don't get that Warriors team at times. We get the Warriors team that has 60% completion rates in the first 10 minutes. Sorry, first 30 minutes. Just gives away silly penalties and gives away the lead that you know, they can't come back from. The Dolphins are a bit of a different beast. I will say this though, I do think the Dolphins are having a case of the drop season. I think their forward pack really need to aim up. Tavita Pangai Jr. is one of those guys. I think he has to lead from the front, lock the ball up. They get the dropsies when their forwards are tired, and with people like Kenny Bromwich and Jesse Bromwich on there, Kafusi, who are on the sunnier side of their retirement, I just think that really if they lock the ball up here, they could win. The guy for me, the hammer. They get him into space. They utilise him. I think having Cody Nikorima at number 6 is going to help in that. They've got a good forward pack. They've got a good rotation. It's probably the best that they can do for now. I've got the Dolphins winning at home. I just think their discipline's going to do it for them, Griff.
Yeah, I've also tipped the Dolphins. I found this another hard one to tip because really they're both teams that I've struggled with in tipping comp throughout this year.
What was that book that said we've had the best of times, we've had the worst of times? That's almost these two teams. When they're at their best, they're unstoppable. But when they're at their worst, they're
Yeah.
absolutely
Look,
horrible.
I think maybe for the first time in quite a long time, the Dolphins have dipped out of the top 8 last weekend. I don't know if they've been there right since round 1. I'm not sure if they won in the first round or not, but they've basically been right up there. They've been in the top 4 for part of the year. We saw a very similar thing last year where they were up there and then they fell right away as the season got towards its finality.
Dickens, I think, actually. It's just come to me. I think it was Charles Dickens.
Okay, well, that's why I don't know, Shane.
It was
because
the best of times, it was the worst of times. Something like that. If anyone in Carpool Rugby League land wants to correct me, feel free.
Well, I'm familiar with the song "The Best" from Foo Fighters, but
Yes,
Mr. Dickens, I'm
good
not
song.
overly
Good
familiar
song.
with, and
Good song.
I wish him well, particularly in those worst of times when he needs it.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I think he did okay.
This game, probably not the best of games. It
No, it was the
could
best of
turn
game.
out though. The Warriors just. I back them, and they just keep losing. I've gone for the Redcliffe Dolphins this week. That's generally not been good for me either. When I've tipped them, they tend to lose. So I'm going to stick with them, and that almost guarantees the Warriors will win this game.
Very good. I think the rest of that quote went, it was an age of foolishness, it was an age of wisdom. So that's this team, and that's these two teams in a nutshell, really. If they're not wise, they're foolish. And if they're not great, they're horrible. So anyway, that's just the way it is. To finish off this round, at McDonald Jones Stadium in Newcastle, we have the 12th place Tigers taking on the 17th place West Tigers. Look, Justin Olam is out. No real surprise there. Fainu, he is also out. For the Knights, they've got some interesting people on their reserve bench. We've got Jackson Hastings, he's there. Now, I think Sebastian Sewer, he's also on an extended bench. For the West Tigers, now, Aiden Caesar is in. Adam Dewey, he is in. We have, not that this really matters in any way, shape or form, but it's good for them to be able to know that they're playing. Everyone else is more or less a bench. I know Funa Pole. I'm not too sure how to say his name. My apologies if I said it wrong.
Well, I think it's Bole.
Bole, yep, he is.
I think he missed last week.
Yes,
he's been good.
He's been good. He's on the interchange bench. I've just seen that there. So, look, for no other reasons, I'll never tip the Tigers again. I'm tipping the Knights because Tigers they've been the Tigers, really. I will say this. I thought the Knights were pretty good last week. Or very good, actually, against the Panthers. Panthers, in the end, actually had 52% of the possession, which I think actually, nothing hurts like a loss. You want to win and you lose. But if there's a silver lining for the Knights, it's that, in actual fact, the Panthers had more possession, and yet we were able to not only stifle what they did, but actually use our possession to the best of its advantage. I think that they're going to get a lot more value out of being at home this week. I think they're going to be playing a side who's just down on form and down on luck. They're going to get a period of time where someone's either in the bin or sent off, so they're going to be a player up at one stage. Statistics say that. Look, Adam Dwayne back, Aiden Caesar back. I really think if the Tigers have any value in this game, they're just going to have to kick on the third and they're going to have to get field possession. The thing that killed the Tigers last week, even when you thought they might have a chance, they surrender field position so simply. They just, it's like they want to run to the 40 kick to the 30, give up 10 and start tackle 1 on the 40 for no other reason than they don't want to run. I think they've really just got to start punching the ball deep, having people chase it, and make the opposition do some work. This is the thing with the Tigers. They could have beaten South a few weeks ago, but they didn't make South any work. The Cowboys last week, they didn't want to make them work. They just want to have this nice straight line on the 50-metre line and then get barrel rolled from there. The Knights are too smart for that. Kalen Ponga, he's going to run through them. Their forward pack is actually very good. I thought Tyson Fazell last week was actually very good. Their forward pack's too smart for that. Whereas you got Appy, who's Appy. He'll start in most sides, but outside of that, I think that it's. I think they're struggling. I think they should promote Bole, actually. I think he should be in the starting lineup. And really, Stefano doesn't want to be there. Just kick him out and start blooding some other young players. I don't know. It's just a shambles. I've just got the Knights for no other reason. I'm not tipping the Tigers. What do you got, Griff?
Yeah, I can't tip the Tigers against anyone. Knights, they were good last week. I don't rate them at all. I don't know how they got to 22 competition points, but especially with Ponga out for an extended period, they actually won quite a few games.
Yeah, yeah.
They had a bit of a purple patch. They'll beat the Tigers. Well, I'm going to tip them. I can't promise they'll beat the Tigers, but if they can produce the performance they did last weekend, that will be enough. And, they did come up against the Premiers, and they went toe-to-toe with them. I watched the replay as well, and they were matching them in all areas of the game. But maybe, they thought that was their season was on the line last week. They can't make the 8. How many? Is it 5 games including this one or 4?
4.
Right. So they can get to 30 points. That's not going to be enough.
No, just to give you their run home. So they got the Tigers, Sharks next week, South the week after, and Titans the next week.
Oh well,
they're all winnable. But
they are.
But
this is Newcastle.
It's a long stretch.
Yeah.
Considering also the teams above them.
Yep.
Minus 105.
This game, but they don't make the 8. That's my prediction.
Yep. So, well, that's the tips for this week. I hope you all have a great week. I hope your team goes well, and that your tips go well, because if you're anything like me, they haven't gone well at all. And we are getting to the business end now. We're going to start looking at teams, seeing how that top 8 pans out, seeing how certain teams are playing with their roster, moving forward to the finals. Griffo, thank you, Chameleon. Thank you again for being a part of it and giving your valuable insights.
I want to acknowledge Shano. He had some very significant technological difficulties. I have no idea how to.
Oh, look, my computer.
But
at one stage,
got us up and running tonight. So
at one stage,
Shano.
my computer resembled a cafe press. It wasn't doing a lot. It was getting very hot. It wasn't turning on. It wasn't doing anything. But it made an awesome cheese toasty. But in the end, I fixed a few things. I was able to pray to every god I can think of, and it all worked. So right. We're here.
Well, we got the job.
Thank you,
done,
Griff. It's much appreciated.
Courtesy of your very, very valiant efforts. Thank you, Shano. Thanks, listeners. We'll be back next week for another big round. But I guess this week, the match, apart from the one that obviously my team is involved in, the one I'm really looking forward to is the Bulldogs v. the Dragons. Of course, no Roosters this week. They've got
the bye. So that's a massive thing for them on the run home. To have a break and a little a little word I've just heard out of Melbourne. They're looking to actually rest players this week. So I don't know what that looks like. I suppose.
I don't think they wouldn't want to risk the
Well,
the loss of 2 points.
Yeah.
Obviously, if what you're saying is true, it's with an eye towards next
finals.
Thursday night's game,
That's right.
which is
So anyway,
the blockbuster.
I've got a gut feeling Penrith are going to put a lot more to the Storm than South. But anyway, hope your tips go well. Hope you're all doing well. Thank you again, listeners. Thank you, Chameleon, for being a part of it. And yeah, everyone, have a brilliant week. Enjoy the football.
Bye-bye. Thank you.